Welcome, everyone. It is Friday, and we are live in the house on Fanbase, Facebook, YouTube. Well, we would have been on Twitter, but Twitter is doing what it's doing. I don't know. You can't load anything just yet on Twitter for some strange reason. But hopefully, if people don't see me there, they'll come to YouTube. Anyhow, today is the reminder to apply what you know because we're going into the weekend. Right? We go into the weekend and sometimes we can become um what's the word? Overwhelmed. And we forget ourselves. Now this is a brilliant question. Two brilliant questions which will help us. How can you do a double check to assess a decision? You see, when you want to do something, what stops us? When we second guess ourselves. What is it that you want to do? Then that's the decision you make. Go to the end, see it in your mind's eye as done. Because it's you say that that's what you want to do, right? When you check your state, this is where we start. Check your state. What mood are you in when you want to do something? I think that's the question. How do you double check? You double check by looking at the mood you are wanting to do something from. Are you honest enough with yourselves to ask, am I in a mood of desperation? Am I in a mood of worry? Am I in a mood of gratitude? What mood are you in? The mood that you are in will dictate what you do. It'll dictate what you want. For instance, the mood of hunger dictates that you eat, right? It just dictates that you eat. What do you want to eat? Well, that's up to you. That's your nuance. But if you are in a mood that says, man, I don't really care about myself, nobody cares about me anyway, I'm not wanted, then we binge, right? What do we binge on? Comfort food, because we're trying to make ourselves feel better. You don't make yourself feel better by eating, you make yourself feel better by moving into a mood. No thing is required to move you into a mood. Listen, no external thing is required to move you into a mood. You want to get into a better mood? You got a favorite song. You know it. You don't need to turn on the radio for it. You can hum it in your head. There's what I'm trying to show you here is to live life from within first. Live life from within, which means we're already doing it. We got these memories we pull up, right? I told you this yesterday. We got these memories we pull up and we run with them. That's what we do. So, ask yourself what mood you're in. That's how you double check. Let me know if we need further expansion on that. The other question is how to stay strong during a waiting period so you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater too soon. I'm glad you said the word baby in there and waiting. When you have been mentally impregnated, right? Like Cyber reminded us last night of Neville and what he said. All you're doing once you've been impregnated, all you're doing is going back to the memory of the impregnation and celebrating that. Because now think about it. If you are physically pregnant, what are you going to do for 10 months? You're going to live life for 10 months, right? You're pregnant. There's this baby growing in there. How do you stay strong during the waiting period? Well, at each stage of the pregnancy, things are different. They change. By the 12th week of pregnancy, you begin to feel the baby. Now the excitement builds. right? You're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is real. I mean, I know it is real, but wow, look at that. The baby's moving and kicking. Yes. So when you are waiting for your quote unquote manifestation baby, certain things happen along the way that keep you excited about it, right? Things keep you excited that just pull you through. Remember, you're not waiting to be pregnant, you already are. All you're doing is living life now and going through the stages of the pregnancy. So after you feel the baby move, well, then depends. Do you get heartburn next? Do you get gas next? Like, there's all these fun and interesting things that are happening that remind you you are pregnant. It is exactly the same with a psychological pregnancy. You begin to see things like, for instance, you are awaiting your car. You start seeing your car everywhere. You start meeting more people with the things that you have. What is that for? It's not to remind you that you don't have it. It's to remind you that, oh my God, this is a different stage of my pregnancy. But then you'll realize the final leg of pregnancy is where the mother's just, okay, get the baby out. I can't sleep. My butt hurts. My ankles are swollen. I am ready. See, you notice how it builds? It builds, it builds, it builds and builds, and then it comes right back again where you say, okay, I'm ready. But you've that building process, that intensity process. This is how you stay strong during a waiting period so you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You go through the stages because the stages are natural. They're there to keep you excited. It is the same thing. The belly grows, people get excited with you, and then next thing you know, you've got this baby, and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do with you? Now you got to feed it. See, now you have to interact with the thing that you gave birth to. You see, each stage of the pregnancy, whether psychological or physiological, is there to keep you intrigued. You feel the movement. The only way you necessarily know, too, because people don't know in the beginning, in those first 12 weeks, they don't know that you're pregnant unless you tell them. But they don't know. So you're walking around with this secret. You're walking around with this secret and you are excited. And then you start to show little things happen, quote unquote synchronicities or coincidences, but we know it's the law. These things start to happen on the outside, and people are like, your life is changing. What are you doing differently? See, now the excitement builds a little bit. You get to say, well, I'm practicing dot dot dot, and you just leave it at that. I'm making changes. I'm just making changes. Can't tell you everything right now, but I'm just making changes. And you go through that motion. The excitement builds. Then something else happens. And you see now more money starts coming in, more clients start coming in, all of these little things. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, you get the heartburn. You get the heartburn. Something happens, you're like, ah. But the thing that happens physiologically and the thing that happens psychologically, all it is doing is reminding you you are pregnant. So what do you do with your pregnancy? Don't you celebrate it? Don't you get excited to say, "Ooh, I can't wait to see you." And then you really know that you're going to have some dirty diapers to change, which is telling you that as you go through this psychological pregnancy, once you give birth to it, now you wanted the house, now you got to mow the lawn. That's a dirty diaper. So is mowing the lawn a problem or is it just part of motherhood? You hear what I'm saying to you? Each part of the pregnancy has something for you to celebrate. And that is why you stay strong through it. Because let me tell you, when the contractions hit, Whew. They're just there to remind you that you're pregnant. And you won't be for much longer because the baby is coming out. So celebrate each process, each part of the process. You understand? Well, there's a difference between anxiety and excitement. They're very similar, but they feel different if you look at them carefully. The excitement is what keeps you going because you know the end. You are eager. The anxiety is this going to happen? I don't know. What if I fail? They feel different. If you pay attention, you will feel the difference between the anxiety and the excitement. Yes. Um, well, we have to embrace every moment of the day because we're going through the day. Yes? Now, contractions. Physiological contractions would be the baby is coming. Psychological contractions would be you meet up about something going on in your manifestation. It could be a doubt, it could be a worry, it could be a fretting. Um, you remind yourself, oh, that's right. I know why that doubt is there. And you remind yourself, nah, I'm good. This is just part of the process. I don't have to fret and worry. This is not going to derail my manifestation. I just got caught up in a different state. So sometimes the doubt and the worry are just you and I forgetting. And then we fall into another state. So what do? Go back to the state you want to be and go back to the mood, which is the celebration of your quote unquote psychological pregnancy. Does that make sense when we compare the contractions psychologically as well as physiologically, right? And yes, definitely, like when you're eager and excited, you know the end. You know, look, this is happening and I'm just ready. Like my skin is tingling, right? You just feel excited. You're like, "Oh yeah. I'm the one who did this. I mentally impregnated myself. I'm so happy with this." And you begin to give thanks. You begin to give thanks. Excitement leads you to gratitude. Excitement leads you to gratitude. But the doubt and the worry does what? Takes you away from gratitude. It makes you complain. It makes you forget where and who you are. Um, let's touch on this ever so slightly because I know I'm hearing a lot of interesting words neurodivergent. What I am here to say to you is the imagination, which is God, is not influenced by what man says. People say uh, a neurodivergent brain is different from a regular brain. I'm like, okay, but one brain, the brain has a function. The function has not been impaired. If the function is impaired, the body will show it. What has been impaired is a coping mechanism. Nobody, quote unquote, I know there's lots of words and fancy things, but hear me out. Neurodivergent, ADHD, all of those things are ways that people cope with issues depending on how they were raised. There's a difference between neurological damage, meaning the brain has been damaged. Neurodivergency is not physiological damage. Quite like, so let's put it into perspective. When I say damage, here's what I'm talking about: fetal alcohol syndrome. The brain has been damaged by alcohol. So the way a person behaves is based upon the physiological damage. It's damaged. It literally is damaged. Just like if the baby is born and it's high on crack, it is damaged. So now we've got to work through that damage so that we can teach the child how to cope and work around the quote unquote damage. But neurodivergency is not physiological damage. That brain has not been injured. Experience has caused a different way of coping. That's what makes it, that's what makes the person's behavior different, their coping mechanism. So you have someone who has to pace, or they fidget, or they can't sit still for certain things. That's not a problem. It just means that the teacher has to be more patient with the child. But we lack patience in this world sometimes. So when I say I'm not trying to belittle anyone, but what I'm saying is there's a difference between physiological brain damage and a psychological way of coping. They're not the same. A psychological way of coping, now you have to learn how to cope. You have to learn your nuance. You have to learn how to behave. That's fine. Nothing is wrong with that. But I think where we as a society go wrong is when we treat people with a quote unquote neurodivergency, we treat them as if there's something wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. You just have a different way of coping. And the rest of us, we all just need patience. I'm being so real. I'll give you an example. Because people would want to say, because that's what was said about my son for a while. Oh, he's gifted. I'm like, stop the madness. He has a way. I did something yesterday, and he just sat there and looked at me, and he goes, "Well, yeah, that doesn't make any sense, Mom." And he spewed out fractions, and I was like, "I haven't taught you fractions yet." He goes, "But Mom, it just makes sense by looking at it." He goes, "That's all I did." But yet he knew what he was talking about. He knew how to put money together to say, "Well, this is the better deal because you're paying the full price for the whole thing, but yet there you can buy it singly you're buying a quarter of it for the whole." He's like, "No, that doesn't make any sense. That's not a good financial choice." And I was like, huh. But he won't sit there and get the same information from a textbook. Does he have a problem? No. I just let him learn how he learns. So that's why I say we we tend to judge too harshly, right? But I hope that makes a little bit of sense when I explain neurodivergency based upon what the law is. Yeah. Um King Thoy, I don't know about that. Now I'm not going. Well, he is who he is. He's just quite who he is, right? Um. So yes, delight, excitement leads to gratitude. But of course, let's unpack that a little bit more. When you are mentally impregnated, which means you have seen the end and you know what is happening, you know how the story ends, so you can handle anything in between because shoot, you know how it ends. You get excited and you say, "Listen, this is not a setback. This is just part of the process." And what do you say? You say, "Thank you, Father, for you always hear me. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the strength." Thank you for reminding me where I draw my strength from. Thank you for reminding me to stay in the state. That's what you do with excitement. Excitement leads you to gratitude. Doubt will lead you to fear and worry. So you see the difference. That's the beauty. That is the beauty, right? So this morning, as we go through this weekend, remember you are the one with the power to choose how you want things to go in your world. It is either you believe that or you don't. If you don't believe it, you will still live by law, but you'll be ruled by law. But if you believe it, you will wield the law. There's a difference. There's definitely a difference. Wielding the law and being subject to the law, being ruled by it. When you're ruled by it, it looks like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? Life is so hard. That's being ruled by the law. But when you see a situation, you say, wait a minute, I put that there. That's an internal seed I planted. Let me uproot that. Let me revise. How do I want this to go? And you see it in your mind's eye. You say, that's it. That's how I want it to turn out. And you say, so said, so done. And you go on with your day and you live your life and you know that things are reshaping themselves to match what you dictated it to be. Two different places. Now, I'm not telling you that we don't have feelings. Of course we do. Acknowledge your feelings. Do what I did 2 weeks ago. I rocked in the corner and I cried. But then when I was done, I said, bitch, you better get up. What you need? What is it that you're looking for? And I said, okay, this is what I am looking for. And within moments, I found it. Don't for one moment think that you are made of stone. The law may be rigid, but it's not stone. It is still flexible. So cry if you need to, stomp if you need to. But you better get up and then demand and declare what it is you say you are changing. You got to get those things out because if you hold on to the frustration, it keeps you in that low mood. But once you've cried and you let it out because that's the mood you're in, now put yourself back into the new mood you want to be in. And now do something from there. That's the reminder for the weekend. Because Lord knows we have short memories, according to Neville Goddard. He says we go out into the world and we forget. We forget. We forget what we look like, spiritually speaking, psychologically speaking. We forget. But he's saying to you, always remember. Remember your face. Remember what you look like according to the law. Who do you say I am? Is. I am. Is God. Imagining creates reality. Right? And even if you don't believe it, look back in your life. If you look back, you'll see all of the things. When you say, oh my God, I was just thinking about you. And there you are. Oh my God, didn't I just say I would love this? And now this person came and just gave it to me? You think you were just thinking that and it just crawled out of the blue? No, it doesn't crawl out of the blue of anywhere. You summoned it. You summoned it by being in the mood of it. So today, my beautiful friends, as we go through the weekend, remember who and what you are and what power you possess, and apply it. If you make it a habit to always be the dictator of what you want to experience, you will change your world. But you've got to be consistent. You don't listen, when you're learning how to bake bread. I remember the first time I tried to bake and it called for 1 cup of margarine. I put the whole tub in because that was a cup to me. I don't remember how old I was. My grandfather, when he saw what I had done after he came in, he said, "Well, that's why it didn't work. Don't feel bad. You'll try again." He goes, "They're not talking about a cup as in this. This is a pound, you see?" And he showed me 454 pound. He goes, "To save yourself, if you use a pound of butter, you got to use a pound of everything else. So then you get a dozen eggs, right?" And this, so he went through it with me, all because I just wanted to learn. But he said, you don't feel bad when you make a mistake. You look at the mistake and you go, wait a minute, what did I do? What did I do? And when you see what you've done, right? When you see what you've done, now you can modify. So it wasn't a mistake, right? Not in that sense of the word, but we learn. So if you say, well, I don't see my manifestation, is that because you don't believe it, or you're worried about it, or you don't even think manifestation is real? Listen, remember what manifest means. You don't have to believe that manifestation is real. You need to observe manifestation happening. A manifest is a document that shows you what is contained either within the box, either within the airplane, either within the cruise ship. It's a document that tells you everybody who's contained within, so that when you look at it, you know who's there. You get to see the evidence of what is within. That is a manifest because it is a document. But to manifest is to see the contents of your own mind by way of experiencing it. What does that mean? It means if you plant an apple tree, you gonna be eating oranges? I don't think so. If you plant an apple tree, you're gonna be eating apples. So the manifestation of the tree is the apple. So is manifestation real or not? The moment you see the evidence, you've seen the manifestation. So don't get caught up in this whole world of, oh my God, manifestation is so woo woo. It is so far fetched. It is so out. No, it's not. It's how we live. Your speedometer is the manifestation of your foot on the gas. That's how you know. Hmm? The sound of the siren for the ambulance is the manifestation that it is behind you. You don't see it yet. You're looking through that rearview mirror because all you can hear is wee wee. That's all you can hear. That's the manifestation of the existence of the ambulance. So, the thing that you predominantly think about all day and feel in your heart to be true all day, you're going to experience it. It is your manifestation. The way you feel about somebody, child, you can't hide that. It's all over your face, whether you like or you have disdain for a person. That's your manifestation all over your face, right? So let me see if I'm catching everything here. Let me see if I am catching everything in the chat. Bear with me, please, my darlings. Well, this is the thing, right? That physical and the mental, right? Mental pregnancy means you have an idea and you want to bring it into the world. When Nikola Tesla was talking about having the ability to have a device where you can see someone or talk to someone over great distances, he was mentally pregnant. That's what he was. He was mentally pregnant. When Henry Ford said, listen, there has to be a better way than horse and buggy, he was mentally pregnant. And now look at us driving around in cars all over the place, right? So at any given point in our existence, we have all been mentally pregnant with an idea, right? All of us, the Wright brothers. I wonder what it would be like if man could fly. They were mentally pregnant. And so what did they do? They went through their mind's eye and said, okay, what would it be like? So they had to call on nature, right? Because who else has the pattern? Nature has the pattern. Birds fly. Birds flying high. Anyhow, I digress. But you see, each and every one of us has been mentally pregnant at one point in time. So don't despair. Despair. All you got to do is spend some time in a quiet place. Edgar Casey used to do the same thing. They called him the sleeping prophet. He would lay there and he would lay there in a state akin to sleep and tell people all their business as if he knew. And he was quote unquote downloading the information. But he had to be mentally pregnant because he said, well, I would like a way to help people. How do I do that? By giving information that is not just my own, but from a deeper level, a higher spiritual place. How would I do that? So you see, he was pregnant. And then when he delivered that mental baby, it was what? Laying in that state akin to sleep in order to assist these people. Right? Einstein, Oppenheimer. Yeah, Oppenheimer was mentally pregnant too. Well, he was mentally impregnated. He was asked, how do we destroy the enemy before they can destroy us? So you see, mental impregnation does not care if it is good, bad, or indifferent. It just knows you have a mental baby. Get into the silent space and sit there and enjoy the presence of your baby. If you watch pregnant women and they're just absent-mindedly rubbing their bellies, that is one of the surest ways of communicating with your baby. The baby can feel it. So what are they doing? Spending time with the baby. You see? So to spend time with your mental baby, get into your mind's eye. See the beauty of it. Oh, I can't wait to bring this to the world. Can't wait for everybody to experience the beauty of this. That's what you do, right? And each mental baby will come forth at the appointed time. Because it takes necessarily the architect, the engineer, and trust me, our engineers are hopping today because there was a major water main break, but I digress. So they have to figure out how are we going to reroute this water, or for our American friends, reroute the water. How are we going to do that? So now they are now mentally impregnated, trying to figure it out. But for the engineer who is most imaginative, he will come with the solution. Why? Because he's in his mind's eye. He's not throwing mud at the wall to see what sticks. They have one opportunity to make this thing work. See? So don't think for any moment, even if you are a manager, you are mentally impregnated. How do you keep your staff inspired? All these kinds of things impregnate the mind. So don't think that mental impregnation is for a select few. It is not. The moment a mother, I swear, mothers, a special bunch, the moment they ask, "What do you want to eat for supper?" "I don't know." That's what you hear. So now the mother is mentally impregnated, trying to come up with an idea. What we gonna eat for supper? How many times in a day do we ask that question? What do you want? "I don't know." Every situation mentally impregnates us. Don't take it for granted. But you can hone and practice that by getting into the silent space so that the baby can be nurtured and not be agitated. I trust that that makes sense for you all today, so that when you go through this weekend, you will remember the law and you will apply the law, right? Because that's all we can do. But would you want to do anything differently? Nope, not at all. I could not go back to what I used to be. Heavens, no. Life is much simpler when we apply the principles. But it all begins with, who do you say you are? Because whoever you say you are, that is the pattern that you will recreate. You doubt me, do you? Plant a raspberry bush, and it will only grow in the pattern of raspberries. So, whatever you are telling yourself you are. Now, here's this one for you, Delight. Are you thistles? Are you thistles or are you the rose bush? Because a rose bush will have thorns, yes. We can circumvent those. But thistles? Ain't nothing you can do with thistles. Right? So which one do you say that you are? Are you prickly or are you easygoing? Who do you say you are? And that is the pattern you will recreate in the world. Remember and apply. Let us welcome everyone into the space this morning. Well, we know Twitter is busticated, so we'll leave Twitter alone. YouTube and Facebook. Renee, she's made herself known in the chat, but the others, they've not made themselves known in the chat. I still see y'all. Fanbase, hey, CC. Happy's in the house. Happy. King Thoy is in the house. Malik is here. Miss McQueen. Oracle Tree House. Afternoon Delight is in the house. And Flo Smiles. Thank you all for being here on this lovely day. I'm reading the chat. You're thinking about running away and working through fears and abandonment right now, ironically. Listen, you don't work through them. What you've done is the very first step, which is acknowledge what you're doing. Now, what is a state of being wanted? What would it be like if I were wanted? What would it be like if I were appreciated? Well, if I were wanted and appreciated, someone would say, dot, dot, dot. Someone would do, dot, dot, dot. Right? If you begin to ask yourself the question of what would it be like if I were wanted and appreciated, and you begin to answer the question, you will not look at abandonment, will you? Why not? Because you're looking at wanted. So then you ask yourself that question, you put yourself in the state of being wanted. And now, how do you feel? How would it feel to you if you were wanted? See? Because you already know what it feels like with abandonment. So don't look there. Don't work through it. You acknowledge it, which you've done. Now, what would it be like if I were wanted? What would it be like if I were appreciated? What would it feel like to me if I were cared for? Well, it would feel like this. And you feel it. Well, you're in a different state because you're no longer feeling abandoned. You've moved from abandonment into wantedness. Don't run, move into wantedness by asking, what would it feel like? I keep telling you, if you have forgotten the name of a song and you say to yourself, what the hell is the name of that song? Do you not get the name of the song? The same method applies. What would it be like if I was wanted? What would that feel like? Well, then you begin to feel it. And when you begin to feel it, well, then that's where you spend the time with your mental pregnancy. You spend the time reveling in the feeling of appreciation and wantedness. And you go back to it over and over. And when your old memory tries to invade your mind by saying, yeah, but we had such a good thing going, baby. You know how I am. I'm always here. I was so faithful to you, me. This abandonment, I was true to you. How could you leave me? That's what your abandonment would want to say. But then you say, I know, but unfortunately, your time is past, honey. I'm wanted now. Toodaloo. That's what you do. That is what you do, right? To keep yourself from being thistles, ask yourself, what would it be like to be a rose? Listen, people get a bouquet of roses, right? You think they care about the thorns? Why not? Because they're captivated by the beauty of the rose, by the scent of the rose, by the specialness of the rose. If somebody gives you a rose, it signifies that you are special. So, how would that make you feel to receive a rose? Well, then you've moved yourself from being thistles to being a rose. Baby, da, 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 da. You know what I'm saying? A kiss from a rose. Hello. See, move yourself into the new state with a simple question. What would it feel like if I had so many clients, I had to get a waiting list, I couldn't keep up? What would that feel like to me? And you sit there and you allow the feeling to just spread through your body. And the longer you sit with it and the more you sit with it, well, that's where your attention is. And wherever your attention is, well, that's where you are now mentally impregnated. And sooner rather than later, you will give birth to your what? Mental offspring as physical experiences. I trust. Yes, that's what it is. Rose bushes and landscaping. That's right. We got to, well, not we. My son will mow the lawn. I'll be out there to supervise as I sip my cool lemonade. I'm just kidding. I won't be sipping lemonade. I'll be out there making sure he's not hurting himself. I don't leave them unattended. You crazy? I'll be out there helping with the rake and putting the stuff in the bag. I'll be pulling my weight. Don't worry. Right? But you see, He's been excited to mow the grass. He is. And I know once he gets out there, he'll be like, whew, well, that wore off quickly. I'm like, you know what? Keep that excitement because you'll need it next week too. Right? But I'm with him every step of the way. So don't abandon your mental offspring. Nurture them. And we nurture them with the feeling. Because the feeling has all of the nutrients required to make that mental offspring grow and mature and then what? Be born. You know I love you. Let me get the bowl. And as you hear the bowl and bird song this morning, hmm, what feeling do you want to go through this day with? You don't have, there's no right or wrong answer, you know. You just got to decide what feeling you want to go through the day with. Is it a feeling of gratitude? Is it a feeling of inner joy? Remember The Simpsons? When Ned Flanders, his little boy, was saying, I got that joy, 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 joy down there in my heart. Where? You know how they would sing that one? Do you want to walk through the weekend with that knowing? What's the joy? The joy is I know the law and I can apply it at any time in my life. That's the joy because you don't have to stay the same. You don't have to languish. You don't have to fret. You don't have to worry. And you don't have to be happy all the time either. I swear to God, he just got louder. I can hear you. Sorry. Right? That's how we do it. We don't have to fret. Just apply the principles by asking a simple question. What would it be like if? Remember, every great inventor asked that question. You are also a great inventor. Remember that. Let's get the bowl. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2. YouTube and Facebook, thank you all for being here. Ronee, darling, thank you for being here. I'll see you tonight, and we will continue with the second in the 7-part series for Bedtime Lecture by Neville Goddard. Don't remember the name because I don't. But I'll see you tonight, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you are available. If not, the replay is always there. Much love to you all.